Divorce is one of the most financially complex events a person can face. The decisions made during this process can shape the next chapter of a life for decades. Welcome to Advisor in Your Corner, the podcast for individuals navigating the financial realities of divorce in California, and for the attorneys, mediators, therapists, and coaches who support them. Your host is Alex Weinberger, a certified financial planner professional and certified divorce financial analyst. Through his firm, Marriage Financial Solutions, Alex consults directly with clients on the financial side of divorce, and the firm welcomes engagements from listeners and from the professionals who serve them, bringing clarity to the questions that matter the most to you without the jargon. This is Advisor in Your Corner.
There's a day in every divorce that nobody warns you about. Not the day you decide to leave and not the day you sign. The day the money actually arrives. The wire hits the account or the check clears, and after months, sometimes years, of fighting over it, there's this strange silence. The number you negotiated so hard for is just sitting there. And for the first time, it's yours. Only yours. Which means every decision about it is yours too. If you weren't the one managing the investments during your marriage, and that's a great many people, this particular moment can be more disorienting than the divorce itself. The fighting at least had a shape to it. This is open water. So I want to spend the next 20 minutes giving you a way to think about that first stretch, the months right after the settlement lands. Because what you do in that window matters far more than almost anyone tells you. Here's the plan. I want to talk about why the number on your settlement isn't the number you can actually spend. I want to make the case that your very first move should be to make no big moves at all. We'll talk about knowing what you really received, because not all of those dollars are the same dollar. We'll talk about building your own financial team for the first time and what to look for, including a phrase you'll hear tossed around, fee-only fiduciary, that matters a great deal more than it sounds. And we'll talk about the actual goal underneath all of it, which is turning a pile of money into an income and a life that lasts. Let's start with the number, because it's the first thing that fools people. Say your settlement comes to $3 million. That number feels solid. It feels like security. But $3 million is almost never $3 million of spendable money because of how it's split across different kinds of assets, and those kinds are not equal. Let me make it concrete with a hypothetical. We'll call her Susan. Susan's $3 million is spread across 3 buckets. There's roughly $1 million in equity in the house she kept. There's $1 million in a retirement account that was split into her name. And there's $1 million in a taxable investment account. On the statement, 3 equal piles. In real life, 3 very different things. The house equity isn't spendable unless she sells or borrows, and it costs her money every month to hold. The retirement account is real, but most of it will be taxed as ordinary income when she eventually pulls it out. So $1 in there is worth somewhat less than $1 in her checking account. And the taxable account may be sitting on large embedded gains from years of growth, which means selling those positions could trigger a tax bill. So Susan's $3 million, the number she can actually rely on to fund her life, is meaningfully less than $3 million. And it's locked up in different ways with different rules. If she budgets as though she has $3 million in cash, she's going to be wrong, and the gap shows up at the worst possible time. This is the same lesson that runs underneath so much of divorce finance. The headline number and the spendable number are not the same, and the distance between them is where people get hurt. So before you make a single plan, you want to understand not just how much you received, but what kind of money it is. Which brings me to the most counterintuitive piece of advice I can give you about that first stretch. Your first move should be to make no big moves. I know that runs against every instinct. The money is finally here. You've been in motion for a long time, and doing something feels like progress. But the months right after a divorce are exactly when you're most likely to make a decision. You'll regret because you're exhausted, you're emotional, and well-meaning people are about to start offering you opinions. some of them with a product to sell attached. The single best thing most people can do in the first stretch is to park the money somewhere safe and boring, cover the near-term bills, give yourself a defined period to breathe, and resist any decision that can't be undone. There's no prize for deploying it all in the first month. Safe and patient beats fast and regretful almost every time. And the rare genuine deadline can be handled without betting the whole settlement on a quick decision. What does parking it safely actually look like? In plain terms, it means keeping the money somewhere stable and accessible while you get your bearings, making sure your next several months of living expenses are covered and not at risk, and holding off on the big irreversible choices, the ones like prepaying the entire mortgage, gifting large sums to your children, buying a second property, or handing everything to the first advisor who calls. Those decisions deserve a clear head, and a clear head takes a little time after what you've been through. You'll also start hearing from people. A brother-in-law with strong opinions, a friend whose advisor is conveniently taking new clients, a neighbor with a sure thing. Some of it is kind, some of it is sales, and almost none of it is built around your specific situation. You're allowed to say, "I'm not making any big decisions yet, and I'll come back to it." That one sentence is among the most financially powerful things you can say in the first stretch. There's one more trap worth naming because it's quiet and it's common. After a hard divorce, money gets tangled up with feeling. The urge to make everything okay for the kids by handing them too much too soon. The urge to spend as a way of reclaiming control. Or the opposite urge to freeze every dollar in place out of fear. Neither extreme serves you, and you don't have to resolve any of it in the first month. You want to notice it, name it, and keep the big decisions on hold until the feelings and the math can be looked at separately, and then together with a clear head. I want to say something else about this moment, because it matters and because no one says it kindly enough. If you weren't the one who managed the money during your marriage, you are not behind, and you're not foolish. A study from BMO Wealth Management in 2025 looked at high net worth women through their divorces and found something that won't surprise you. The women who felt most confident afterward were the ones who'd been most involved in the household finances during the marriage. The ones who'd left it to a spouse had a steeper climb. That's not a character flaw. It's a setup, and it's an extremely common one. The point isn't to feel bad about the starting line. The point is that this is the moment you get involved, and a learning curve at the start is completely normal. You don't have to become an investment expert. You have to become an informed decision maker who knows which questions to ask and who to trust. That's a very reachable goal, and it's a different and more realistic one. So let's talk about knowing what you actually received in a little more detail, because this is where a few hours of clarity pays off for years. Every asset you walked away with has two hidden traits beyond its dollar value. It has a cost basis, which is essentially what was originally paid for it, and it has a tax character, which is how it gets taxed when you use it. Those two traits determine how much of the asset is really yours to spend. Think of it as three broad kinds of money. There's money that's already been taxed and can be spent freely, like cash or the basis in a taxable account. There's money that hasn't been taxed yet and will be taxed as income when you withdraw it, like a traditional retirement account. And there's money that's grown and carries a gain you'll owe tax on when you sell, like appreciated investments in a taxable account. $1 million in each of those three is not $1 million of equal value to you. Most people never have to think about this during a marriage because someone else was, or because it simply never came up. But the day you're managing your own settlement, it becomes one of the most useful things you can understand. I'm not going to give you tax conclusions here because the specifics depend on your full picture and belong with your CPA. What I want you to walk away with is the habit of asking, for every account, what's the basis and how will this be taxed when I use it? That one question changes how you see your own balance sheet. It also quietly shapes which assets you'd lean on first and which you'd leave alone to keep growing. though the right sequence is genuinely personal and worth mapping with a professional rather than guessing at. Now let's talk about building your team, because you shouldn't do this alone and you don't have to. For the first time, you get to choose who advises you, rather than inheriting the advisor your marriage came with, or having no one. And here's where that phrase I mentioned earns its keep. When you're interviewing financial advisors, two words matter enormously: fiduciary and fee only. A fiduciary is someone legally obligated to act in your best interest, not merely to recommend something that's considered suitable. That distinction sounds like lawyer language, but it's the whole game. You want the person guiding your money to be required to put your interests first, in writing. Fee only means the advisor is paid by you for advice, and not through commissions on products they sell you. It removes the quiet conflict where the recommendation that pays the advisor most and the recommendation that's best for you aren't the same thing. There are good people who work under other models, but fee-only fiduciary advice is the cleanest arrangement. And when you're newly the sole decision maker over a large sum, clean is exactly what you want. So when you interview someone, ask them directly. Are you a fiduciary all of the time? How are you paid? Do you earn anything if I buy a particular product? The answers tell you most of what you need to know. And a good advisor will welcome the questions. A couple of practical notes on finding that person. Look for real credentials, like the Certified Financial Planner mark, and ask how long they've worked with clients in situations like yours, people rebuilding after a divorce with real assets to manage. Interview more than one. You're not obligated to choose the first person you meet, or the one your attorney happened to mention, or the advisor your marriage used, who may honestly be the last person you want now. This is your hire. Take it as seriously as you'd take bringing anyone into a role this important, because that's exactly what it is. This is also the honest place to say what my firm does and doesn't do. Marriage Financial Solutions is a financial consulting firm. We help you understand the financial side of your divorce. We don't manage investments here. Investment management is a separate discipline, and it belongs with a registered investment advisor, whether that's my affiliated firm or another one you choose. I tell you that partly because it's required and partly because it's the same clarity I'd want you to demand from anyone. Know what someone does, how they're paid, and whose interest they're bound to serve. Which brings us to the real goal, the one underneath all of this. The point was never the lump sum. The point is the life it has to support. A settlement isn't a prize you put on a shelf. It's the raw material for an income and a future. And turning it into that is its own kind of work. It means understanding what your real annual cost of living is now, on one income, in your actual life. It means thinking honestly about your time horizon, because money that has to last 30 years is managed differently than money that has to last 10. It means accounting for the house and taxes and the goals that matter to you, whether that's staying in your home, helping your children, or simply never having to worry the way you worried this year. I'm not going to hand you a formula on a podcast, because a responsible answer depends on your specifics and on working with a fiduciary who can model your particular situation. But I want you to hold the right frame. The question isn't, how do I invest this? The question is, what does this money need to do for me? And over how long? And then the investing serves that. Get the order right, and a lot of the noise falls away. Come back to Susan one last time. Her $3 million, properly understood, might support a very comfortable life. Or it might be tighter than she expects, depending on what her real spending looks like and how long the money has to last. The point isn't the verdict. The point is that she can only know by starting with the life and working back to the money, instead of staring at the lump sum and guessing. When she does it in that order, the house decision, the tax questions, and the investing all begin to line up behind a single picture of the life she's building. That's what turns a frightening pile of money into a plan she can actually live inside. Here's where I'll leave you. You didn't choose this transition. It arrived with the divorce, whether you were ready or not. but I want you to hear this clearly. You are more capable of it than you feel on day one. The disorientation you feel when the money lands isn't a sign that you can't do this. It's a sign that it's new, and new passes. Go slow. Understand what you actually have. Ask the direct questions. Build a team that's bound to serve your interest and paid in a way you can see. And keep your eye on the real goal, which was never the number. It was the life on the other side of it, the one that's finally yours to design. That's the work worth doing, and it's work you don't have to do alone. Having someone in your corner who's obligated to put you first is exactly what this chapter is for.
Thank you for listening to Advisor in Your Corner. If today's conversation raised questions about your own situation or a client's, Alex Weinberger and the team at Marriage Financial Solutions are available to help. They work directly with individuals navigating divorce and alongside the attorneys, mediators, therapists, and coaches who support them. Every engagement is handled with the discretion, rigor, and independence the moment calls for. To learn more or get in touch, visit marriagefinancial.com. If this podcast has been useful to you, please share it with someone who could benefit and subscribe wherever you listen. This has been Advisor in Your Corner. We'll see you next episode.
The information and opinions presented in this podcast, including the views of guests not affiliated with Marriage Financial Solutions, is for general informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered personalized financial, tax, or legal advice. Marriage Financial Solutions does not provide advice regarding securities or the advisability of investing in securities. Marriage Financial Solutions is affiliated with Weinberger Asset Management, an SEC-registered investment advisor, and may refer listeners to Weinberger Asset Management when investment advisory services are appropriate. However, individuals are not obligated to use the services of Weinberger Asset Management